about, which I'd like to tell the viewers about, is reincarnation. Because, you know, you may remember, for years and years I'd say to my friend, why can't I have a simple life and just be a woodcutter, chop down trees and live in a little cottage? Then I met you, and you said, Paul, you lived in France once. I said, did I? In a past life? Yes, you chopped down trees, that's how you made your living. And I was blown away.
Oh, thank you.
So how do you know this?
Well, basically, it's just, I believe that this work, and I do quite a lot of teaching of this work, and my opinion with it is that everybody's got innate abilities. And then there are abilities that you can evolve and by learning them and enhancing the techniques of it. With past life, the way that I work with it is when I have a client, I tune into their soul energy as well as their Ashkay record. Well, I hope I do. And then as I do that, I will see a past life coming up. It's like watching a movie in my third eye. At the same time, I'll get a sense of the vibrational energy of when that past life took place, where it took place, as well as kind of the lessons the soul was going through in that lifetime, plus the relevance of why this particular lifetime has come up for this person in their present lifetime. And that information is hopefully channeled through my guides as well as my clients' guides, as well as using, which everyone has, my own innate abilities, intuition, psychic abilities, etc. So that's kind of, it happens at several levels to give me that information which is relevant.
Now, I think you mentioned the Akashic records.
Akashic records.
What are they?
Well, basically they are, every soul has an Akashic record, and they basically are everything that the soul ever was, everything that they will ever be, everything they are now. It's held in a hall of records in the spirit world. And basically accessing it, you're not always allowed access to it. You've got to be, from the guidance that Ashkay records, when I teach it to clients, you have to be incredibly respectful. You've got to have access to the Ashkay records for the highest good only. And that is to help your client, basically. And it's a book, basically, recorded all the previous lifetimes, all the future lifetimes, as well as the lifetime the soul's in at that moment.
So I imagine it's like walking into your library.
It's like a huge library.
And everyone's got their own book, their own record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when I take clients through going into the Ashkay record, the Hall of Records, they often have a similar experience that each of them have, which is this amazing huge hall with marble pillars in front and the gardens, these huge beings. It's very interesting when I go with it through clients.
And that tells you our past lives.
Yes.
And so you wholeheartedly do believe in reincarnation.
Absolutely. I mean, to me it is something that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I find with past lives that, my belief is we don't go from one lifetime to the next like a revolving door. We spend between 50 and 100 years between each past life, between each lifetime on the other side. And when we're on the other side, we can either rest or do work on the other side, like healing work, etc. And then when we're ready to come down, because of free will, we choose what we're going to, be male or female, parents are going to get born to. We normally come down in the same soul group anyway, because these are the souls we create karma with, and which allows us to move from one level to the next.
Well, I was going to ask you, yes, I know we're on the earth plane, we have a physical body, I can touch it, I can touch yours a bit, but I know we're solid.
Yeah.
But the body does pass over.
The body does, yes.
And go to the spirit world or heaven, as you wish to call it.
Yeah.
What is the process? Do you know the process of actually how we come back down to earth?
Well, for me, it is very much about working towards enlightenment. So I think when the soul's ready to come back, it will come back in the same soul group, which can consist of hundreds of different souls, basically, because you're creating and working through karma all the time, as well as your several soulmates and one twin soul. And we all start off on our karmic journey on what I call the first level, which are the lessons of hunger and cold and very physical, primitive lessons. We move on to the next level, the second level, which are the lessons of the emotions. We move on to the third level, the lessons of the emotions and the intellect. Fourth level, mind, body and spirit, mind, body and soul, how all of that works together. Fifth level, is really the real start of the process of the spiritual development of the soul, which is mainly being of service to God, source, universe, and to humanity. As well as kind of on the fifth level, it's a cleansing level, so things in previous lifetimes that the soul hasn't dealt with, on the fifth level they need to deal with. So it can be like quite a crisis management level.
So you talk about these levels
are
different states that we're in.
Different lifetimes. So some souls can spend 20 lifetimes on the first level, and some souls can take 2 lifetimes to get from level 4 to level 5. There is also the 6th level, which is the spiritual continuation, spiritual expansion of the soul, connection with energy, connection with God's source universe. And then the 7th level, where the soul becomes what we call a master soul, where they reach enlightenment. Within the 7th level, there's 7 levels within that to go through. So you go each lifetime, I've never known anybody's gone from 1 to 7 in 7 lifetimes. So because of free will, it can take many lifetimes to get from one level to the next.
I believe you said I'm on level 5.
Yes, definitely. And a lot of souls that I've come across recently are, which is very much about really crisis management. And often it's not crises made of your own stuff, but other people's karmic stuff that you're dealing with.
I'm dealing with a lot. So you can't believe what's going on in my life at the moment.
It's very much about a cleansing level in order to cleanse the soul, because we have free will. We can choose. We can go into a lifetime and think, okay, these are the lessons my soul wanted to choose to go through to get to the next level. But during life happens. We get distracted. Bad things can just happen. Sometimes there's no karmic reason for things. We get caught up in other people's karmic stuff. But by the time you get to the 5th level, you need to be cleansing in order to move your soul to the next level of enlightenment, which will be the 7th level.
I have to see you afterwards and ask for a bit of help with what I'm getting. Because I'm thinking the other day, am I being tested? But then we are being tested the whole time.
Always. And I think it's, life is hard. I mean, there's no two bones about it. Life is hard. But it is also not only, I think going into past lives, what is important is about realizing about what happened in that lifetime, because the soul needs to be free to continue on its journey. And if the soul is feeling stuck or repeating the same patterns from previous lifetimes, it is a process of bringing up to the conscious mind, a process of acknowledgement. This is what I've been doing, and I release it to move to happiness, which is what everybody wants.
And have you actually met anyone on the level 7?
No.
You haven't?
No.
6?
Yes. But the thing is as well, I mean, we also need to look at the fact that not only do we have Earth lifetimes, but we do have lifetimes on other planets. Not everybody. I mean, some of the people I see, there'll be 90% human lifetimes and 10% lifetimes on other planets to kind of see what's going, to kind of experience life on another planet, or even the opposite way around. It's very interesting to see that.
Now, when you talk about other planets, what do you mean?
Other planets, extraterrestrial lifetimes.
So you're not talking about different levels of heaven or the spirit world?
We're talking about different extraterrestrial lifetimes, sometimes in different dimensions.
And you believe that?
Absolutely.
And you believe
100%.
in aliens and UFOs?
Absolutely.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
So we can actually go to different planets. See, a lot of us think about heaven, the spirit world, and especially being mediums and clairvoyants, we think of different levels progressing back to Godhead. But you're taking a sideways leap.
Well,
maybe.
not necessarily, because you can still go.
But we're going further out that way.
No, I think it's about being in some type of physical form to go through your lifetimes to get to the next level. It's only when the soul has no physical form and that they can go rest is when you go into the spiritual. So you can have an alien lifetime, live that lifetime, learning the lessons that you can get from that particular planet, in that particular existence in an alien form. And when your alien body dies, just like our human body dies, then you come back into the spirit world. So it's not about the spirit world, it's there for the soul to rest. Whereas our alien lifetimes, if you have any, or our earthbound lifetimes, are really a process of learning. So I wouldn't say it's really sideways, it's just an expansion.
So do you think we could be an alien some other lifetime, but come back to Earth?
Absolutely, 100%.
Do you think we always come back to Earth?
I think if your soul is mainly human, then it will. Or some souls are completely human and always spend their lifetimes on Earth.
But do you think some of us can remember being aliens?
Absolutely. I've seen it with people, absolutely. And what to me is quite interesting, particularly in the last 3 or 4 years, a lot more people are connecting with that energy.
Oh, fascinating. See, before I knew about mediumship, I had to hear about mediums and I didn't quite believe it, but I do now. But I'm still not sure about reincarnation. But then if I believe in mediumship now, why not reincarnation?
Exactly. I mean, you've got to take what is your truth and what resonates with you. I mean, things to me, there are different dimensions of energy. There's a spirit world where you go to rest, where your spirit guides are. Your spirit guides can also be extraterrestrial energies, angelic guides, you know, the elemental energies, which are earth energies that exist on another dimension. So it's all about different dimensional energy. And I believe that everything you always were, everything you will always be, everything you are happens at the same time but in different dimensions. I think we're not supposed to remember our past lives all the time, so we can get on with the lifetime that we're in today. But going through a process, whether it's like doing hypnotherapy or reading or just having that access to a bit of your own soul energy, your past lives, can be a very freeing process to allow the soul to move to the next stage.
Right, so you work with clients, taking them regressing, do you?
No, no, it's pure psychic reading that I do, it's never any regression.
But you find out about their past lives.
Yes, just that's the way I described it at the beginning.
So how does that help them actually?
Well, again, it's about, sometimes there will be a kind of recognition, something like, oh my God, that's why I've always felt like this. Sometimes it's a process of saying, this is what you've been doing this lifetime. In a reading like that, we'll do between 3 to 5 past lives. So you can start to see a pattern, and it's often like, it will relate to the karmic lessons the soul is trying to work through in this lifetime. It's really about a process, acknowledgement. This is what's been going on, and making a conscious choice to say, this is no longer how I want my soul journey to be, and releasing that. Because at the end of the day, we all want happiness, and it's about helping the client hopefully get there.
So do you get some clients that say, well, Karen, I don't know what lessons I'm meant to learn?
Yes. Absolutely.
By finding out their past lives, you can help them with their pathway now.
Even that does help, absolutely. Or just having a look at the karmic journey of the soul in this lifetime, the karmic lessons, which doesn't necessarily involve always having to go into their past lives.
Right. I'm just wondering why I'm being tested so much in my private life out there, because it's all happening this year.
I think 2012 is a very significant year for a lot of people. It's very much about a cleansing year. It's very much about a working towards enlightenment. The whole of humanity is shifting. Things are very upside down, opposite way around at the moment. So I think that filters down into your everyday life. And don't forget, you know, things that we go through are not only necessarily our own karmic stuff, but other people's karmic stuff as well. We get affected by that. I mean, sometimes bad things just happen. And it's about, you know, often those souls on the high levels will feel it a lot more intensely because it's of a deep cleansing. And I think as well, the closer we get to the light, the more of our own darkness is illuminated, to be cleansed out. So working along the spiritual path can be very taxing, can be very difficult, because you're always cleansing, you're always going through things to cleanse and release to move towards enlightenment. So that is also what I would
do you know the different stages of like spirit realms? The etheric realm and the auric realm, whatever. We have the earth plane.
Yes.
Are there any? I won't say planets because you call it, you know, it could be on a different planet. But this way, like heaven, spirit world, etheric, and earth. Are there any planes? Let's call it a plane. Are there any planes below the earth plane?
Well,
or is this the bottom line?
I wouldn't say like. To me, it's not kind of like Earth is the bottom and there's something underneath. To me, I don't believe in a concept of things like hell or anything like that, but I do believe this is where you get a lot of soul rescue coming in, a lot of very, just as they're bad, naughty people, there'll be bad, naughty spirits. And if they're not, if when a bad, horrible person passes, they can either choose to go to the light, or sometimes they're a bit worried about what they've done and they might stay in the grey zone, or which is like the level between Earth and heaven or the spirit world, or a soul that necessarily has been fine but is too scared to go into the light. And the earth, this grey zone, is a very dodgy place to be. That's where you get a lot of souls that you need to soul rescue it, kind of hang about there. And that to me is kind of between, Earth is a physical, three-dimensional existence. Then there's another dimensional existence of the grey zone, but it's about, it doesn't kind of come between Earth and our physical plane and the spirit world. It's just a different dimension. So but when we pass over, we hope we should be met by our spirit guides, our loved ones on the other side, to make this transition into the spirit world. But earth energy is heavy. The gravity is heavy here. Humanity's karma has not been the easiest, you know. So the energy is heavy. So it can feel quite dark and oppressive on earth. It is the karma that humanity has chosen. It's the energy of our gravity as well.
Now, past lives. Are you aware of your past lives?
I have been aware of certain of them. Obviously, other psychics have told me, you know, what I've been, but I focus more on kind of the present, the need to kind of work with what I'm going through at the moment. And sometimes if I go through difficult things, I'll look at it and go, is there a past life? Is there a resonance? And I do have some memories that are with me all the time of previous lifetimes, absolutely.
So do you know what you're doing here on this
Not really.
You don't
I'm just kind of trying to follow what I call the call of the soul. God knows where I'm going with it.
So you don't know what your mission in life is.
It's far easier for me to look and tell someone else than it is for me to tell myself.
Because it's like I get other mediums phoning me up to help them.
Yeah, it's very hard.
They can't do it themselves.
But also with this work, because of like, with this work, it's kind of like, recently I ran a workshop where one of the things we talked about was the ego, and how important it is to squash the ego in this work, which is very hard to do because the ego is what keeps us alive as human beings. But it is important to squash it. So I try very hard not really to focus too much on myself and focus on my clients and what they need and what their past lives are about, or what they need for their spiritual and psychic development, rather than on my own stuff.
Well, you've been doing this for 30 odd years, so I guess it's not hard to guess, is it? Your mission in life is whatever. I won't ask you what level you're meant to be at. It's to help others through your work.
I hope so. I hope all you can do with this work, I believe, is follow the call of your soul.
Right.
And by following the call of your soul, I think you can avoid the whole ego thing. And the ego is not necessarily like the I'm so amazing, arrogant ego, but it's also the insecure, needy ego. You know, am I rubbish at this work? Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it right? Did that go okay with that client? It's very hard to squash the ego. All you can do is try your best to shift your focus onto your client, onto all that is important is the work itself and nothing else. And that's what I tell myself. I do not matter. It is the work that matters. So I guess I don't focus too much on my past lives.
I think we touched on soul groups just now.
Yes.
Now, explain soul groups. I mean, does it mean that my parents have been with me before in the past life?
I would say that your soul group is probably consist of most of the people that you meet in your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll know them throughout your entire life. Sometimes it will just be for 5 minutes. And that can also sometimes be a soulmate. You might not necessarily have met your parents in a previous lifetime, but chances are they're part of the same soul group that get reincarnated at the same time that you do. Okay. So there's never any hard and fast rule with parents and spouses and kids and friends, but it is when you go into past life you can see if there is, you know, a connection between somebody that close to you.
So maybe we met in the past life.
And
maybe we were just like boats that pass.
Absolutely, could have met for 5 minutes but have come closer in this lifetime, because, you know, it depends on streamlining the karmic journey with each other.
Now, Karen, what are you doing at the moment in your lifetime? you do workshops, you do demonstrations.
I do a lot of teaching work. Thank God, please God it continues.
Because you're a bit of an enigma to me, actually. All around, I can't pin you down. So if I was to pin you down this next few weeks, what are you doing?
Well, what I've recently done is a couple of workshops where we talked about, my homeopath actually told me to call it serious spirituality, and we talked about, it was very much not a practical workshop but a real deep talking, which I got the clients in the workshop to talk to each other about the light and the dark of this work, because the universe is in a balance, so there is light and dark. Light and dark in all of us. We always hope it's 90% light and 10% dark, and I would always say with my experiences with this work, thank God, please God it continues, be 90% light and 10% dark. But the dark teaches us about the light. Yeah. We also looked at, you know, different levels of light, different levels of darkness, levels of light, your own light, the light of God's source, the universe, the light of the spirit world, as well as the opposition of darkness and how that affects us, and why we go through things like a crisis of faith with this work, which I believe is part of enlightenment, part of moving towards the light. As we looked in things like global consciousness and ascension, we looked at the ego, we looked about living the work. How do you really live this work? How, you know, people have incredibly busy lives. You know, nobody has 2 hours a day to meditate and do yoga for 4 hours every day. So finding a reasonable practical solution to incorporate this work into your life every day, whether it is by an affirmation you say first thing in the morning or a prayer at night. looked at the importance of protection, not being neurotic about it, but things that are important, that looking in terms of going into our future lifetimes, because we concentrate on past lives, but what about the future ones? Setting your intent now about moving into what you want for the rest of this lifetime. And if you feel like, do you want to come back to the Earth planet, or do you want to go somewhere else? Do you feel like you're done and that's it for you, or do you still feel like you have a lot more to learn? So we looked at setting the intent and the process for our next lifetimes as well.
So do we get a choice whether to come back or not?
I think we always do. And our soul makes that choice.
Yeah.
You know, we have free will. So, but most souls, if they have not finished their karmic journey, I believe will come back. Because coming back allows us to learn, to move towards, and that moves us towards enlightenment.
And you can look into future lives as well.
Absolutely. Just as you look into past lives, because everything is happening at the same time. The soul will be connected to the higher self, which will be connected to your spirit self, which is all connected to the Shikha Gregor. So you focus on these different aspects of energy that gives you the information of past lives, as well as the future lives of the soul. And then I have been doing, thank God, a lot of teaching work, one-to-one teaching of psychic and spiritual development.
Do you teach mediumship?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes, I do.
But do you working as a clairvoyant, like demonstrations? Or?
I don't do many demonstrations. I mainly do one-to-one with clients and workshops.
Yeah.
And the workshops and client work is really geared towards my clients, so I don't really, other than to just kind of show something, I won't really do it. And so I teach trance mediumship and normal mediumship. So yeah. So
there's no end to your talent.
I just kind of channel and hope for the best.
I was going to ask you how you got into this way of life, but if you're practically born into it.
I was born like this.
So did you know there was a difference in you?
Well, my grandmother was a medium. I didn't know she passed away 6 years before I was born, but my mother, you know, because of having grown up with her mother, and my mother's very psychic, and so when I was very little and had a lot of spirit disturbances from the age of about 2, my mother would always tell me about white light from God and just needing to protect myself. So from a very young age, I kind of was very aware of spirit energy, like most children are. You know, I think children are very aware, but it was incredibly intense, and everything, every place, every person had a certain vibrational energy, and as I grew older, it grew with me, I guess.
Karen, you have a website.
Yes, I do.
Let's give it a plug. What is it? www.
Karen Harry. Oh no, God, no, that's my
your
email. Yeah. No, it's www.
that.
Spirit Explorer, all one word, spiritexplorer.co.uk.
Right. Or if you wish to get in contact with Karen, or you might have to repeat the show to get the address a few times, contact me at the Eternal Spirit Show at felixstonertv.co.uk. So Karen, you were born in South Africa?
Yes, I am South African.
What's it like out there? I mean, could you do work out there?
Yes, I did. I did work out there alongside, I started really doing work from about the age of 15. So, yes, I mean, it is a lot more progressive here.
Yeah.
So I was slightly...
That's what made me ask you. I'm not sure what it's like out there.
But, you know, I think it's growing there now like it has here. But in my experience, like 20 years ago, this kind of work was so left field. Yeah. You just didn't want to talk about it. Now, thank God, it's so much more mainstream because of where humanity is headed, because we are in the age of Aquarius, because we are going into 2012 and into Ascension. But I think, you know, and it's very much about people finding their own sense of spirituality. But I always stress to clients, the thing that I think blocks the work is the ego. And it's very, very, and keeping your intent, you know, don't go into this work to kind of make yourself feel special, because it's not special work, it's sacred work. But it is not about you, it's about being a channel to help others. It's about the sheer joy of connection with God's source universe, about crushing that ego when you do this work in order to hopefully do it effectively.
Yeah. Well, Karen, thanks for being my guest.
Thank you very much for having me.
I do struggle with the ego, you know.
Everybody struggles with the ego. It's because we're human, and that's you know that's where the issue comes. That's what makes it so hard. Because our ego keeps us alive. It's the thing that goes me. It keeps us alive. So the work is so important in terms of having to know that. Well, the way I look at it, it's sacred work. It's nothing to do. I don't count in this work. It is following the call of the soul, and the only thing that's important is the work itself. And that's how I look at it.
Karen,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Goodbye and God bless. Till next time.